I had to learn how to code, and I'm still a terrible coder, but the computer would do all the math for me. So I haven't like done the math in so long. So I do teach a more conceptual, probably a little bit lean more towards the conceptual basis than a mathematical basis than some of my colleagues, which is good because the one who teaches quantum is much better at math than me. So they get it from both sides.
Yeah, but I agree with that. I mean, that's the most interesting side, I think. That's where things get really cool and a bit weird.
Yeah, like you have to know how to do the math, but for me at least, it's not going to cement in my brain unless I have a conceptual idea of it. So I do spend a lot of time building up the conceptual idea because that, for a lot of people, is where you remember it better and can explain it better and can intuit the solution, how to even begin, because the math is the tool that you need at some point. But in order to even know which way to go, you have to conceptually think about the problem before you pick which tools you're going to use. So, that's kind of how I approach it.
Having said this, can I ambush you with a physics question?
Sure. And I have no idea if I can answer it, but I can try.
Well, I did a podcast episode a few weeks ago where I was talking about stellar evolution and what's happening inside the sun. Mm-hmm. And as I was writing it, I was scripting it, I was talking about the different zones. You've got the core and the radiative zone and the convective zone and so on. And I hate to just say this is what happens. I want to say why it happens. And I realized I have no idea why there is no convection in the radiative zone.
Why there is no convection in the radiative zone. Oh my God, I did this in grad school. Oh, wow. So, yes, there are... Oh my God, I'm reaching deep into my brain, into 2006 when I took this course.
That's fine. This is raw and this is unscripted, so...
Yeah. So there is a way... Oh my God, this is so basic. This is so not what I'm an expert at, even remotely. But I clearly remember learning about this in my stellar astrophysics class in graduate school.
Okay. Can I tell you what I picked up?
Yes,
because
this
wasn't really my area either. My understanding was, and I might be... I'm not sure if these are both factors or if one is right and one is wrong, but as I recall, on the one hand, it's a very, very high pressure, very high density region. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I don't know if viscosity is the right word to use when you're talking about a plasma, but very high viscosity, so it doesn't want to move very much. And secondly, radiative transfer is much more efficient, so that by the time any kind of motion could start, the temperature is already equalized locally.
Right. Basically, yeah. Basically, that's it. The physical conditions, the density, the pressure, the temperature, are all such that, and I just remember doing these calculations, but I can't remember what they're called, which is why I'm struggling. Under the set of conditions closer in, radiation is more effective than convection, and under the conditions further out, convection's more effective than radiation. So the one that's more effective under those physical conditions takes over. And I know there's this whole set of calculations where you can prove that, and I don't remember what any of that is called, but I know I did it at one point in my life. So you basically have it. It's which one is more efficient under the given conditions, and that's like the basics of stellar astrophysics. Is given a certain set of conditions, what's going to happen?
Oh, I'm so glad you said that because I wasn't sure. I ended up having to just quickly research it, and you know how it is when you feel you understand it, but you're not prepared to commit it in writing or to a microphone. Well, now I can. Thank you.
That is how I feel about a lot of what I teach sometimes, let's be honest. There's this great book called Teaching What You Don't Know, and I forget who the author is. But I have it on my Kindle somewhere. It's all about how to teach subjects where you aren't an expert in it. And I run into this when I teach Life Beyond Earth, which is kind of a introduction to astrobiology course, because there's a lot of sections in that, the chemistry and the biology, that I'm not an expert in. And some of my students are bio majors, and they do know these things better than me. And so how you work that out as a dialogue in the classroom is a little bit about what that book is about, and how to speak on things with some, the level of confidence that you do have. When I talk at sci-fi conventions, like I'm going to Dragon Con at the end of August again, I will find myself talking about things that I am in no way an expert on, but I will say, here's the level of knowledge I have. It might be slightly more than you, maybe slightly. I'm not the expert. So if you find something down the line that contradicts it, that's cool. That this is where I am in my understanding of it. And I think it's important to acknowledge that. Yeah.
Well, I have a bad habit of just speaking way outside my knowledge. You're in a position, you're expected to be well, I worked in tech support for so many years, and half of it is just coming up with persuasive ways to get people to check that it is in fact switched on without without implying that you're calling them an idiot.
Have you did you turn it off and turn it on again? Yes.
Right. You think I didn't try that? No, of course not. I don't think, but a lot of it was just cultivating that air of authority. So you just, and that's a dangerous trap. Hey, it's
so I think
you end up saying the biggest nonsense.
Yeah. I think what I try and do, and this is something I've struggled with, because I struggle with, and if you've heard of imposter syndrome, it's not like a real diagnosis, but it's like
I'm now
when
familiar.
you're so when you feel like you're supposed to be an expert in something, or you're supposed to be good at something, you feel like, I got this far, but I don't deserve to be here. I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I struggle to balance imposter syndrome with, I am the authority in the classroom, I should know what's going on, with a third thing, which is I strongly believe that I can't really teach anybody anything. I can help them learn it, but I can't transfer knowledge from my brain to them. So how, I believe the learning process is really that two-way exchange. So I've somehow cultivated, I think, this classroom community, I guess, or where the students do see me. They call me doctor, they call me professor, they know I'm the quote-unquote expert in the field, but I make it very clear to them where the ends of my knowledge are. And I've had to be comfortable with saying, I don't really know, let's look at this together, and being afraid of losing their respect. And maybe this just speaks to the students that I have, how amazing they are, but I feel like I haven't lost their respect anytime I've done that. It's like, I don't really know, let's look this up together. Seems to work really well with the students I've been working with the last 3 years at this college in particular, because they've seemed to be a little more open with me about, I don't really understand this, can we talk about it? I think I think it opens it up a little bit more, that they're willing to come to me when they're stuck rather than beat their head against a brick wall trying to finish a homework assignment, because they know I'm out here saying, I don't know, I gotta look this up too. I don't have any, this is all anecdotal, I haven't studied this, but that's kind of something that's gone into my teaching philosophy and how I've tried to build a classroom community. I could ramble about astronomy facts all day long. I could talk about astronomy for hours and hours and hours and hours, and they might even be entertained, but I don't think they're going to learn anything. So I've been shifting my classes away from lectures and more towards worksheets and discussions and collaborative assignments. So I'm, and the feedback I get, some is positive, some is negative. Some people just want me to lecture, and I'm like, I'm not going to do that. The education research says most people do not learn that way, so I'm not going to do that. As much as I would love to talk about astronomy for hours, you're not going to get anything out of it. So my teaching has gone more towards this collaborative model, which makes it really weird when I actually give a talk somewhere, like at DragonCon, and I'm like, I'm not used to giving talks anymore for a whole hour. I don't do that. I stop. I try and make my DragonCon stuff a little bit more interactive if I'm the only one, and it doesn't always work out that way because they're looking at me like, this isn't normal. This isn't what we do. But it's fun anyway. I'll get people to raise their hands and vote on stuff, so that's always fun. I think I've gone completely off in some tangent, and I don't know where I am or where we started, and I apologize for that.
Well, so what are you working on now? What's interesting? What are you doing now?
So right now I've got a whole bunch of things going in addition to my classwork. Now that I'm a little bit more settled in teaching, I've been able to devote more time to research, and I have to. I'm on the tenure track, right? I have to get stuff out there, get stuff done. One big thing is the motivations of our Cosmoquest citizen scientists. That paper is getting finished up slowly but surely. So we'll be putting that out. All the work is done. We're just finishing the writing of it. And I'm starting a project. I'm super excited. My colleague, who's an education faculty at St. Anselm, Kelly Demers, just on the phone with her before this call with you. We got a grant for St. Anselm to do a project, it's called a noise capacity building project, from the National Science Foundation. What it means is we're spending a year piloting some methods of getting science majors or STEM majors, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics majors, to also consider secondary education, adding that to their education. So adding on high school teaching as a possible career path. So so we got some money to do that, and the keystone piece of that is we're developing some after school. There's already an after-school program that's run out of our college called Access Academy. They bus the kids in from the local high schools and do these fun, hands-on topics. They have money to do a bunch of humanities-related classes, which were really cool and really popular. And the high school students they focus on are Manchester, New Hampshire is a big refugee resettlement site in the U.S. So it focuses on refugee, immigrant, and other underserved populations, which is really, really important right now and always, I think. And so we're giving these students a chance to get some high school credit, do something completely different from what they do in class all day, and also check out a college campus like the local college. And we've had several students who chose St. A's to go for undergrad as a result of this program. But they don't have a whole lot of STEM offerings. And so we're building in a few STEM offerings, and they're going to be taught by college students. So they'll be taught by a combination of science and education majors, so that the science majors can get a look into what education is like and what it might be like to actually be a high school teacher, the kind of students that they'd be working with. So we're developing this program to try and convince some more STEM majors to try out teaching, because quite a few of them actually find out after they've graduated, hey, I want to try teaching high school, and then they have to go through all the certification stuff after they've graduated. So we're trying to catch them earlier. And give them that opportunity earlier to get into high school teaching and do that as part of their time in college. And even if they don't, I think it's super important for all people in STEM to try doing education and outreach, because for me, I found out I had a talent and a love for it, and that's what my career focuses on now. And even if you do more focus on research and end up working, for a national lab, there's still opportunities for you to build education and outreach into your work. And so it's a good way to practice those skills and see if you like it and see if you're good at it. So I'm a big advocate of this, and I'm just over the moon excited when we got the money, and also slightly terrified because now I'm a co-PI on a major grant. And I have, so we're getting that started this year. So we're going to, try out this method. We actually have Georgia Bracey who has also worked with Cosmoquest with me. She's going to be our evaluator for the project. So we kept my SIUE ties and the Cosmoquest ties in there, recruiting Georgia. So she's going to be helping us out. So that's going to be my focus for the next year. That, and also I'm going to try and get some funding to support either a summer student or work it out I don't know, it's hard to pay students during the year when they're undergrads because they're in classes all the time. But if I could do for credit internship or summer students, get some more students doing radio astronomy, either with some of the VLA data that I have and that my colleague here has, or with I'm going to reach back out to the Haystack Observatory since they're so close, and I know some folks there, getting students introduced to radio astronomy. So that's my other thing, is like I still love radio astronomy, but my focus now is helping my undergraduate students understand it, because that was such a gateway for me getting into astronomy. So that would be a nice way to, again, kind of my career come full circle, and have more undergraduates doing research.
I've got a question for you about that. How much of what's radio astronomy is